Hey guys, so final game in the new Mizuno Alpha 2s basically, the elite version. So today on feet, I know it's going to look a bit weird, but we've got the version from last year and the version from this year. So just the white version and obviously the ruby red version from this year. This is the elite version. I got to be honest, I've worn these obviously over the last couple of weeks, and compared to last year's, straight on feet, so on feet for a while, these are stiff. These are stiff. These take a while to really sort of like warm up and kind of soften up, even though I've worn them quite a lot. Whereas last year's ones, I've put these on this morning. I haven't worn them for a while. I've put these on this morning and they're just a lot softer. Not as stiff. There's definitely a massive difference between these two elite versions. And I've got to be honest, these feel much better. These feel much better than these, 100%. Watch out for the full review. It's going to be coming out this week. I'm also going to compare them with the MIJs as well. So keep posted. Hey guys, and welcome to Chris's Footy Kicks, and welcome to another review, and a review that I've wanted to do for a while now. It's another one of it's another comparison video, and essentially it's about the Mizuno Alpha. Yeah, I've got two elite boots here. I've got last year's elite boot, this year's elite boot, and bear with me, forgot the main attraction. Bear with me. We also have this year's MIJ version. Okay, so yeah, let's get into this conversation, because I think this is going to be an interesting one, and I'm possibly going to upset a few people with this. So let's get into it. Without further ado, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And yeah, let's get into the review of the Mizuno Alpha. So a couple of things to get into, guys. I've worn, obviously, these boots quite a lot over the kind of, well, obviously the ruby red ones over the last couple of weeks, the MIJs, obviously, since they first came out. And obviously the elite version from last year, obviously I was wearing this quite a lot until the new one came out. So where are we? Where does everything stack up? And what do we have? So essentially what we have here, this is last year's elite version. It doesn't have the Carvo insert. It's just a plastic insert. You have this zero glide material, basically kind of, it only runs kind of in the heel area. It's not on the tongue. It's obviously on the insole, but it doesn't run all the way inside the boot. Essentially, other than that, there's essentially not much difference between the two elite boots. Obviously, this year's elite, okay, essentially the zero glide material is on the back of the tongue, and it also runs all the way through the inside of the boot. Other than that, apart from a few graphical changes, there's not a massive or significant change, although I will come back to that point. Then also on the Alpha version, obviously you do have the Carvo insert. The zero glide still runs all the way through the boot. But other than a couple of cosmetic differences, again, there's not a lot really different between these three boots. So can you justify spending $300+ on this boot compared to, I think this is $180, something like that? In my opinion, and I'm just going to say it straight off the bat, no. If you do want an Alpha boot, I wouldn't pay the $320 it costs for these. because there's not a massive difference. In hand, as soon as you get them, they feel kind of the same. I'll be perfectly honest, the Elite actually feels lighter than the Alpha. So I am going to put them on scales just to see if that is right. Just could be my imagination, and there is no difference between the two. And then I'm going to talk about where that leaves us with obviously last year's version, because obviously, as you can see from the launch edition, they changed the graphics kind of on the newer version and brought this Mizuno Runbird to the front, which I really quite liked. But then on the Ruby Red version, it's back to where it was on last year's version, and I don't really understand why they've done that. And apart from that, there doesn't really seem to be a massive difference. There's obviously a difference to the tongue. On the tongue on this, you've got this zero glide material on the tongue, which is both good and bad. On the last year's version, you didn't have that, but you kind of had like a little tiny bit of like this padding on the tongue, which, to be honest with you, has gone, but makes quite a big, significant piece of difference. I don't know why it's gone. It's not a massive difference, but it does make a difference. And again, it's not on the Alpha, on the Made in Japan. Again, I don't know why. So there's a couple of cosmetic differences there. Essentially, the newer version is supposed to be thinner. Can you notice it? Not really. There's not a massive difference and there's not a massive change. What I do want to do is, guys, I want to get these boots on the scale. So bear with me just to compare these. Now, these are all in my usual UK size 8.5. I'm going to measure them in grams because everyone seems to know grams. So let's start with the Made in Japan. This is the Made in Japan version, and we put that on. That comes in at 197 grams, which is under the 200. So we know significantly it's a light boot. That's as it is here, with obviously the insole, the laces, everything in place. So that's not a bad weight, 197 grams. Let's come on to this year's Elite version. I'm going to put that on the scales as well. Okay. That comes in at 196 grams. So 1 gram difference, which is nothing, absolutely nothing significantly at all. And obviously this version does have the Carvo insert in it, which may or may not weigh a gram. Who knows? Let's go on to last year's Elite's version. Let's put that on the scales. And that comes in at 208. So it is heavier by about 10 grams. Are you going to notice that on feet? Not at all. So that's where that covers the weight issue, or the weight, how they are. Now, let's go to the biggest issue that I've found with these boots. And I noticed it more today when I played, because I actually wore the obviously last year's Elite version. Okay, so this is last year's Elite version. The top, okay, the material, it's nice and soft. Okay, I've worn this a few times. Okay, you can see that it's nice and pliable. It still has that kind of plasticky feel to it, which you're going to get, but essentially it's very, very soft. When you put it on foot, when I put it on foot today, and I haven't worn it for a while, straight away it felt comfortable. So when playing in it, it was nice on my foot. It was a comfortable feel. I didn't kind of think, oh, this is there was no discomfort. The tongue, when I was playing in this with the no zero glide on the back, actually stayed in place longer than the new version with the zero glide. Exactly the same grip socks that I wear, my Adidas Adizero group, Adizero socks. So they're a grip sock. This tongue actually stayed in place a lot longer than the newer version. That brings me back to this version. So as you can see, or you may not be able to see, it's significantly stiffer, massive. It makes a funny noise as you're moving it. going back to last year's version, it makes a bit of a noise, but not the same kind of creaking noise because it's definitely softer. Go back to this version. You get this kind of creaking noise. So yeah, the uppers are massively different. So although this is actually supposed to be a thinner upper, I actually think it's more, I think it's actually a step backwards in all honesty. I don't think it's as soft. When you put the boots on, they feel straight away significantly stiffer. It takes them a good 20 to 30 minutes playing until your foot heats up inside the boot and they start to kind of then soften up and mold around your foot. And that obviously, that provides some discomfort then. Again, when I was playing today, these sole plates are supposed to be exactly the same. But for some reason, I felt more discomfort in the newer Elite than the old Elites. Just stud pressure, less stud pressure in these than in these. I can't explain why, because they're exactly the same, or supposed to be exactly the same sole plate. They're obviously very responsive. You know, you get that snapback, which is perfect for pushing off and accelerating off. I can't fault them for that at all. Obviously, the tongue, again, it moved around quite a lot. I had to stop and retighten the boot. I didn't have to stop and retighten the old Elites. I tied them obviously exactly the same time. There is a little bit of difference in the laces. These ones have kind of got like gold flecks in them. I don't know if that makes a massive difference. I don't think it does, but they seem to just lock in a little bit better. These ones are obviously Mizuno's cheap laces, which are just garbage. But yeah, I don't know why the Zero Glide didn't lock this tongue into place, because it definitely did move around, which again provides just discomfort. And then, as I said before, this tongue has kind of a little bit of like almost like it's not much, it's just a little bit of padding on it, whereas this one doesn't. And I think that just takes a bit of pressure off of the forefoot. Yeah, that's the only way I can describe it. So again, going to the MIJs, straight away you can feel just how much stiffer they are. They're just, these are slightly softer than these, but are they $100+ better? Definitely not. In my opinion, anyone that is buying these boots or the MIJ versions of these boots are basically just buying them because they're a boot snob, basically, because between this and this, there is not a massive difference at all, 100%. And then between this and this, I actually think this boot is more comfortable than this boot. And this is obviously last year's version. So now, obviously, I've tried all boots and played in all these boots. And as I said, guys, I play in these boots. I'm not just sticking them on feet and saying, oh, yeah, they're great. Or I'm not taking them out of the box and going, yeah, they're great. I actually play in these boots. And if I had a choice between all three, especially after today, I'm wearing these two today. And obviously, I've worn these previously. These are actually up for sale. These are going to be going back or up for sale. And then obviously I've got these ones, which I'm going to keep because I actually find these more comfortable, just all around more comfortable. So if you can pick up last year's version, I would say go and get last year's version, and go and get the Elite, because I don't think there's a big enough difference between the Elite, and I know this is the 2 compared to the 1, I don't think there's a massive difference. And if you can pick up these for a fairly reasonable, cheap price, go and get them. Go and get them, because you'll save yourself a fortune. And as I said, the upper is a better upper. And I know that may sound crazy, but it just is. I don't think you need the Zero Glide all the way through the boot. I think that's overkill. Yes, it's a nice to have, but I actually think it's affected the upper of the boot. I think it's made it stiffer, and I think that takes away from a touch on the ball. So there we go, guys. Where does that leave us? I don't know why they changed the graphics either on the two boots. That's kind of a little bit frustrating, because realistically, if you had these two boots side by side and said to somebody, hey, which is the newer boot, they wouldn't be able to tell with them on your feet, because the graphics are obviously exactly the same. They were exactly. Now, if they'd obviously kept the logo on this round by the front, I think that would have been a nice touch. I don't know why they changed it. So yeah, realistically, I don't know. Yeah, it's one of them, guys. In my opinion, for someone who plays, I think the better one out of the three is last year's Elite version. It gives you everything that the MIJ gives you, apart from obviously the proper Carvo insert and the Made in Japan badge. And I think it's better than the Elite. I think it's better than this year's Elite. I really do. I don't think you need the Zero Glide all the way through. The slightly different change in the tongue area has made a significant impact on how comfortable the boot is. The upper is stiffer. And I just genuinely think this is a better boot. So yeah, for anyone out there that is in the market for an MIJ boot, or sorry, not an MIJ boot, but a Mizuno Alpha Speed boot, it is a very good boot without a shadow of a doubt. It's very responsive. The technology that goes into it is awesome. But again, I kind of have the feeling it's change for change's sake. It's changing something that didn't really need to be changed. And this, aesthetically, looking at it, is no difference to this. You know, from here to here, and the sole plate is exactly the same. That from the inside with the Zero Glide all the way through, yeah, that's different, but it's definitely made a difference to the texture and to the upper. 100%. This is just softer than this, even though this is supposedly thinner than this, but this is significantly softer. So there we go, guys. In a nutshell, if you want a boot, if you want a Mizuno Alpha, go and get last year's Elite. Save yourself an absolute fortune. There's some great colorways in this anyway. I love this gold colorway. It's amazing. But yeah, I wouldn't bother getting these at the full retail. I certainly wouldn't pay for these at the full retail. If you can pick these up as a bargain, then perfect. I'm selling these for $160 or nearest offer. So if anyone wants an MIJ Alpha, inbox me, let me know. As I said, these will be going back or up for sale, one of the two. Just pick these up. That's it, guys. It's a good boot. It's good to play in, but I don't know how Mizuno justify the MIJ price compared to the Elite price, because there is not a massive difference at all. And as I said, repeating myself, last year's Elite is the better boot, in my opinion. Thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Really appreciate it. And I will speak to you all later. Thank you for watching.